So you want to make videos, but your main experience thus far has been filming blurry videos of your cat. Well, whether you want to be the next Alfred Hitchcock or you just want to impress that special someone who won't return your phone calls, you've come to the right place, because we're going to go over some of the ropes. This is Filming Basics 101. So let's assume you've gotten your hands on some sort of camera. Old, new, vintage, iPhone. The first thing we need to deal with is framing. Step 1. Find someone you don't like. Step 2. Buy a boat in their name. Step 3. Use said boat for smuggling. Step 4. Call the cops on them. They get arrested, you get away with it, win-win. Now that we've talked about that, let's talk about framing as it relates to film.
That's a great idea. Let's go!
We'll start things off with the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a guideline used to help you compose a shot. Basically, you imagine the image being separated into, thirds. Pretend there are 2 lines going from left to right, and 2 more lines from top to bottom, dividing the image into 9 equal boxes. This helps you balance the subjects of your shot, and lets you keep an eye out in case your frame is a little too busy, unless, of course, you want your shot to be busy. You want to put your subjects at where the lines intersect. If your subject is a person, you normally want their eyes to be at the top 1/3 of the frame, or right along that top horizontal line. Some other things you need to pay attention to when filming are look room and lead room. Say you have a subject that is looking a particular direction. You want to frame the shot in a way that whichever direction has their main attention also has the most space. This is known as look room, and it gives the audience more of an idea of which way the character is looking off screen. Otherwise, you can make a character look kinda trapped, or like they're in some sort of artsy movie. Now, if your subject is moving, then you want to be prepared to compensate for that. So you give them more lead room by putting them on the opposite side of the frame that they're moving towards. This way, you can track with your subjects so they don't accidentally leave the frame. Now that we've gone through the basics of framing, let's talk about going from one shot to another. Now, if you're filming a sketch or just simply the next Oscar-winning movie, there are a ton of ways you can link shots. We're going to just quickly touch on a couple. The main goal most of the time when linking shots together is to hide the fact that you've just cut from one shot to another from the audience. Probably the easiest way to get from one shot to another is called a cut on action. Say your subject is pouring a cool and refreshing glass of unhealthy carbonated sugar. You can cut from shot A to shot B while the action is taking place, and the viewer will barely notice because they're too distracted by something that's happening on screen. If you happen to be doing some live camera switching at an event, a good time to transition might be when the speaker moves their hands or changes the direction they've been walking. That way, it's just a little bit of a smoother transition. You can also hide edits in clever ways.
Clever girl.
Say someone walks in front of the camera, completely taking up the whole frame. You can use this as an opportunity to switch to a closer shot, or a different shot entirely. It looks cool, you look cool, and your audience doesn't notice the transition as much. Another good time to cut is whenever someone is reacting to something, like this.
Don't worry about her, man. She's a slob anyways. I mean, look at her. She's probably gonna be fat in a couple of years. Not gonna age well.
Now say you have a character speaking to an audience, and they tell the best joke anyone has ever heard, and the audience is laughing hysterically. This is the ideal time to cut to a shot with the audience in it. Once the laughter dies back down, you can go back to your character again. The reaction shot lets your viewer get a feel of the room and the emotions that are playing out. They're justified shots that make sense to the viewers, and therefore are usually less noticeable. How long should you stay on a particular shot? Well, it kinda depends on you and whatever you're making. When we go to see a movie, we're used to seeing quick edits. For example, 2004's The Bourne Supremacy has an average shot length of 2.4 seconds. Now that's over 2,500 edits in a 100-minute long film. Now moviegoers have become attuned to seeing a lot in a little bit of time. In live production work, however, that doesn't mean you have to switch shots so fast you get calluses. The goal is more about keeping it interesting for whoever's watching it. So you don't want to stay on shots too long. But how long is too long? If there's music being played, you might want to cut to the rhythm or beat of the song. If there's a killer guitar solo, you probably want to cut to that a little closer. Now, if you're filming a speaker, you probably want to cut a little bit less, as there's likely less action going on than there would be at, say, a concert. However, if you're filming someone speaking at an event, you may really want to consider showing the audience every now and again. If you stay in close on your speaker the entire time, the audience can kind of forget the room that the speaker's talking to. From the viewer's standpoint, they could be speaking to an empty room, or a group of ping ones, or even,
John Cena!
Well, look at you. You're ready to make your mark on Hollywood. Or at least, on YouTube. But before you get started, let me mention one more thing. Throughout this video, I know I talked about a lot of rules and techniques. Rules are important and are generally what you want to stick to as a guideline. However, just like any good rule, they can be broken. So it's important to know the rules so you can create your own path and get all artsy with it.
Il est mon frère.
More importantly though, in all of this, make sure to have fun. Film is fun! Yay! Now, go out there and make something great. Win an award and maybe thank me later.